Good afternoon, young and old. Father Ryan is not able to be here today. He's fine, but he's doing a funeral. So he'd asked me to take on the responsibility of communicating with the younger people in a short Bible study. If you recall yesterday, or Tuesday actually, Father Ryan spoke about the loaves and fishes, how the little boy came upon Jesus, and Jesus was ministering to thousands and thousands of people on the countryside. And they got hungry. Jesus was feeding them spiritually, but they got hungry physically. And the disciples didn't know what to do, if you recall. So Jesus blessed the loaves and fishes and had enough food to have 7 baskets left over after feeding the thousands of people. He likened that to our food pantry here at St. Francis, the St. Vincent de Paul Food Pantry, which has been doing an outstanding job of feeding those less fortunate, especially in these times of unknowing about your job and ability to provide food for your family. So the demand is high, but St. Vincent de Paul is certainly keeping up very, very well. So today, I want to talk about the marriage at Cana. If you're familiar with it, which you might be, and if you're not, let's just talk about it for a minute. The marriage at Cana was and is the first miracle that Jesus performed. He was just a young man. He had just been baptized by John the Baptist in the River Jordan, and he went on to a town near Galilee called Cana to be present at a wedding with his mother. The mother of Jesus was at the wedding as a friend of the family, for Nazareth, where she lived, was near Cana. And by the way, I've been to Cana. When I've traveled many times to the Middle East, to Lebanon, I've been to actually the cave at Cana. It was quite an experience. Before the wedding feast was over, all the wine had been used. And Mary, Jesus' mother, understood how badly the people felt. And the mother of Jesus believed that her son had the power to do whatever he wished. So she said to Jesus, "Son, they have no wine." And Jesus looked at her and said, "What would you have me do? My hour has not yet come." What did he mean by that? Well, until this time, and he's about 30 years old right now, until this time, he had a number of experiences in the temple and as a young man, but he really hadn't put together his disciples and spent every day, every hour ministering to the people. It was not yet time for Jesus to go public with a miracle. However, at the request of his mother, Jesus was willing to help. That to me is a very important thing. That to me kind of sums up this whole story. As we talk about it near the end of the story, because Jesus had so much respect for his mother Mary that while he felt it wasn't time for him to perform a miracle, because Mary, his mother, asked him, he said, "Okay." Since his mother knew that Jesus would in some way help the people in their need, she said to the servants who were waiting at the table, "Do whatever he tells you." So in the dining hall, there were standing 6 large stone jars. Each was about as large as a barrel, a big barrel, that held 25 gallons of water. These barrels were just used, or these jars were just used for washing. But Jesus said to the servants, "Fill the jars with water." So they drew out from the jars after they had filled them, and they obeyed Jesus. Then Jesus spoke to them again and said, "Now pour out what you need from the jars and take it to the chief steward of the feast." That's the guy kind of who runs the wedding reception. So they did. They took some water out of the jars, which they had poured into them, and while they were taking it out, they saw it had turned into wine. So as the chief steward did not know where the servants got this wine, he said to the young man who had just been married, "At a normal feast, everybody gives his best wine first, and later he brings on the wine that is not so good after everybody has had a little bit too much wine to drink. But you have kept the good wine until now." This was the first time that Jesus used the power that God had given him to do what no other man could do. And that's where the word first came into being, miracle. This was the first miracle that Jesus performed. Many, many more, probably thousands of them, followed this day. So, Jesus did them as signs of his power as the Son of God. Now, Jesus, if you recall, right after he was baptized in the Jordan River, he walked along the Sea of Galilee and called some of his disciples to follow him. Some of them were fishermen. They left their father, they left their boat. Jesus said, "Come, follow me." So there were 3 or 4 of them with Jesus when he came to Cana, and they came to the wedding. They didn't know what to expect from Jesus. They didn't really know who Jesus was, and for a long time, believe me, if you follow the Gospels, they really questioned who Jesus was and why he was there. But this first miracle, when the disciples saw it, they believed in Jesus more fully than before. And every day thereafter, Jesus walked with them, performed miracles, did so many things. We just read about a few of these in the Gospels, like healing the paralytic, curing the blind man, even brought Lazarus back from the dead. The woman who was hemorrhaging for 12 years, she just touched Jesus' cloak and was cured. Jesus performed so many miracles. And you know what? He doesn't stop even today. And while he doesn't walk among us, he is among us. And miracles happen all the time. All the time. Why? Because if we believe in Jesus, if we pray to Jesus, if we ask him for his help, he will always be there. As I said earlier, to me, one of the most important things in this gospel was that Jesus changed the water into wine because his mother asked him to teach us how much he loves her and how powerful are her prayers, but also shows us how much Jesus respected his mother Mary. So I want to leave you with this thought. I know sometimes, because I've been through it, did it when I was younger, didn't necessarily show the greatest respect to my mother. I can say that. And I've apologized to her for it. Because, as they say, as you get a little older, maybe you get a little smarter. But it's important to remember that we're only children at one time. Our parents work so hard to teach us what is right, what is wrong. And for that, we have to respect them. Moms donate their lives, give their lives for the sake of their children. I think more than dads do. And I'm a dad, and I'm a granddad. But I think Mom's job is a lot harder than mine was. I got to go to work every day. Mom had to stay home and take care of the house and take care of the kids. So, if you didn't learn anything in this brief discussion we're having, respect your mother. And believe me, you'll be happier for it. God bless you all, and thank you for listening.